Welcome to the Real Estate Syndication Show. Whether you are a seasoned investor or building a new real estate business, this is the show for you. Whitney Sewell talks to top experts in the business. Our goal is to help you master real estate syndication. And now your host, Whitney Sewell.
This is your daily real estate syndication show. I'm your host, Whitney Sewell. Today, our guest is Aaron Chapman. Thanks for being on the show, Aaron.
Thanks, Whitney. Good to see you again, man.
Yeah, you too. And I've really enjoyed getting to know Aaron a little bit. And you may recognize his name. He was a guest on show WS148. And you know, I'll ask that you go back and listen to him there. So if you didn't, just so you understand a little more about his background and just an amazing way about how he talks about getting his children involved in the business and how they're just really involved in learning and contributing also. And I really enjoyed that and how he laid that out. And I would encourage the listeners to go back and listen to that. Again, it's a WS118. And but Aaron, just a brief intro. Top 1% nationally, ranked number 12 in 2017 by Scotsman Guide for units closed in the real estate finance industry. He's highly skilled in financing for the real estate investor, aiding in the analysis and structure of multiple finance properties. But we wanted to have him come back, and now it's the new year, and we're going to talk about just that's thoughts for the next new year and for his business and looking back and things that happened last year and some big things he's going to take with him going forward. But Aaron, start us off, you know, with your thoughts for this next year and for your business, how you're growing that and what your plans are.
Well, I think the first thought that comes in is, you know, when we ended 2018, is we squeaked right past the line on our goal. We set a goal for 700 units closed for 2018. We did 701. So it was, that last month was a fight. We had it actually set up to probably getting closer to about 720, 730. And it's just one of these things that no matter how good you are, how many people you have with you, and how much strength that you have built, you're always going to be faced with some sort of struggle. And we had this massive headwind against us that last month, and we're pushing and pushing and pushing, and we made it, you know. And I always tell people, I use the saying, bruised, bleeding, missing limbs, I'm going to cross that finish line. And it took the full weight of all of us pushing together to get there. So I think that if I didn't have the team I have, the group of folks on here, we wouldn't have gotten there. You know, and they all dug in to make it happen. So it's a good testament to who you're working with when they all jump in at that last minute and they just keep grinding till the last deal is done, until that bell rings and it's over with, and they did not relax until we got there. So I'm very, very pleased to be able to announce something like that. But the interesting thing about that is then the next day happens, right? January 1 happens. And you've got your big goal has been achieved, 701 units, and you have to literally take a lighter, light that thing on fire and say, doesn't matter. The windshield is this big, the rear view mirror is that big, I'm looking that direction. I'm not going to be focusing on what happened back there. That's done, that's gone. Now, of course, we got to be able to use that as a way to say what we've accomplished. Like you just mentioned how in 2017, I was ranked number 12 in my industry, you know, nationally, for the amount of units that I closed. And so when you're doing, you know, I think that the top guy was like 1,200 transactions or something like that. And I was really surprised to be in those rankings because I don't pay attention. But I figured, you know, you need to put that out there, not as a pat on the back, but in reality that people know who they're working with. And I'm working with real estate investors. I'm going forward into 2019, helping them with their goals and their vision for their business. They need to be able to know that who they're dealing with has a little bit of experience in the space. You know, with 700 transactions done in 2018, 676 in 2019, 400 plus in 2017, 400 plus back in 2016. There's a lot of experience there, practical information we get to offer to folks, not just theory, not just speculation. We get to actually tell them, this is what I've seen other investors do successfully. There's what I've seen other investors do unsuccessfully. Choice is yours. You're running your business. You choose to move forward or not, but this is what I have seen happen. I'm not going to tell you what to do. I'm going to advise on practical data. So that's where it's really been a really good thing for us to be able to have that type of exposure to so many people and their business venture when it comes to real estate investment.
So that goal of 700, you met your goal. What's the goal going to be for the next year?
I put that out to my team, and one of the girls said 985. So that's what we did. We got 985, and I've got these backpacks that I bought from my girls, and they've got my patch on them. They're a military style backpack. You can hold your laptop in, and I have if you look at my logo on my email, it's got my logo and then each of their last names. Well, I put my logo on the backpack and then their last name with a name tape, like military type Velcro name tape on it. But now I went and bought patches that have 985 on it, and that goes on their bag. So I said, next year we get to burn those patches, so we can move on to the next goal. And what's awesome is they all have just jumped in and embraced that goal, and they're just after it, one deal at a time. And that's how it gets done. Not looking at 985 deals, you're looking at one. What matters to that one person we're working with, and how are they trying to accomplish their future, and what role do we play in it? We will get there.
I like that. And, that kind of goes along with, you talked about no matter how good you are, you're going to be faced with some type of struggle, and just the importance of your team. Obviously, you're talking about them and just how they embrace that goal. How do you help your team to embrace a goal like that?
That's a solid question. I don't know that you can really help a person embrace something that they don't feel themselves. One, they have input in the goal. That was one of the main things. And then two is we have over time worked our way into this group. And we've been through multiple people. I've had multiple people come through my office and they've weeded themselves out. I've only had to actually, in a way, fire or let go of 2 of them. There was 3 others that let themselves go, if you will, because we had a culture that just didn't feel right to them because it just wasn't their vision in life. And so I embrace that from folks. If this is not where you want to be, don't be here. Go where you feel comfortable. And now we have this group that has this comfort level where they actually even kind of push me, right? So I've got an assistant. She's 19 years old, and I'm beholden to her. My calendar is filled up by her. And she'll be texting me, you got 15 minutes to next call, 10 minutes, 5 minutes, you got to be on your call. And she is keeping me honest with what I'm doing. So everybody's embraced their role in it. And I think that honestly, their desire to help each other is what has really got them to embrace the goals. Because it's not about me. It's not about them individually. It's about everybody, the client, themselves, our business, whether it be the company we're with or the people that refer us business. It's about every single one of them. Every person we touch benefits all those others. So it's just I don't know, there's something about our culture that has developed to a point that the goal is only a way for us to gauge whether or not we're accomplishing what we want to. It's not necessarily the end all be all for us. And because it's going to be wiped out soon anyway. We're going to crush that goal and go after the next one. And a lot of people also put I believe they put a goal out there, like what they want for their income. I tend not to want to limit myself with that. I see that as a limit. I'll put, here's my minimum. I'll never put what I'm shooting for, because why wouldn't I want to just pass it? I don't know where that plays into this whole thing or answering your question, but that's just a thought that popped into my head.
No, I like that. Do you give incentives of any kind for employees to help motivate them, or refer to, like you said, getting the full weight of everyone in there, to meet that goal?
We do have a bonus per file that they get. And so in reality, the more that they do, the greater their incentive becomes. But there's no like tiered incentive. You hit a certain point, we'll give you X. There's just not. It's everybody sees that there is a need, and we grab hold of whatever that is, and we start pulling. There's this whole thought process that we try and keep within the organization of the old adage of the rising tide raises all boats. Right. And just because one group, because they're kind of broken up into little teams within the team, just because one may be doing better than the other, they don't look at it as a competition internally, because they see that rise is going to help the others as well. And so what I've found also is when the tide's not coming in, they will bind together and they will walk out into the mud of the surf, and they will drag that tide in. They just have a way of communicating with each other that they try and enhance what we do. And one of the coolest things we get to do is when we have team meetings, we want to talk about the accomplishments. We talk more about the mistakes. When we talk about the mistakes, we don't crucify somebody for their mistake. I'll call that out. I'll state, so-and-so had this particular file, and this is what happened. And I wanted to thank them for stepping on that landmine. because if they hadn't stepped on that, we wouldn't know about it. Now that we all know about it, we can spitball a way to avoid that for the future. What can we do to make sure all of us know that that is a landmine you don't want to step on? Because luckily we made it through that problem with no real issue, very little collateral damage. But what if it was a different deal that would have blown a whole bunch of things apart, maybe a relationship? So we get a chance to talk about that, and we truly are grateful for the person's mistake. If they didn't make it, the rest of us wouldn't know about it.
I like that. How you, instead of just like focusing, calling that one person out and really, making them feel bad, right? Or whatever for this mistake that they made, you turn it into a learning environment for the whole company. And so now everyone is aware of this possible mistake that could be made.
Exactly. And nobody wants to be called out for a mistake.
Right.
Nobody wants to be told you screwed up, right? But we all do. Every single freaking day. We've gotten to a point where the stakes are small enough that we can cover them up really well, or sometimes buffalo our way through them. Sometimes you just come in like a silverback on coke and your people aren't paying attention to where you're screwing it up behind you because of all the noise you're making. But it's happening to all of us. And since none of us want to be on that, it's really, we need to be grateful for those who will stand up on that stage and expose themselves and say, I screwed up. And because of their willingness to do it, we need to be able to express them that that was a big thing they did for us. They helped us out. So, and thanking them makes it a lot easier for people to be willing to stand up and say, hey, I screwed this up. How do we fix it? And they come together. They work together to solve any problems because they know eventually they're going to be on that chopping block. And I wouldn't call it chopping block because nobody's really at a point where I'm going to chop anything. But they feel that way. Right? Everybody feels that way. You screw up, you think that you're going to lose your job. I don't want anybody to go through life thinking that that next mistake is going to cause them that loss, because that next mistake may save us millions of dollars down the road. I may have needed them to make that mistake now, so it doesn't get made by 4 or 5 people later. So I embrace it and I thank them.
Yeah. I mean, as opposed to acting out of fear or them not performing because they're afraid of messing up.
Oh yeah. Well, I've had one gal who was that way for a long time. She's getting better and better and better about just going into it. And I can honestly say I've got 11 lionesses on coke that are just tearing through things. You know, some of them might be a little bit more timid as they come into it, but once they realize that we trust them and that that even if they make that mistake, call us, we'll help them fix it. They're not on their own. They do have a lot more, I guess they have a lot more confidence going into every transaction they do.
Nice. So, you and I had talked a little bit briefly about how you've surrounded yourself with experts, and then you had talked about just, reaching that goal being a good testament of who you're working with, and how do I know as a maybe small business owner and listeners that are getting started, in real estate and growing their business, how do I know when I need to hire that first assistant or that first person?
Well, I had a close friend of mine tell me, if you have more business than you know what to do with, don't be caught doing the paperwork. And that's where I started to live myself by, because years ago I joined a mastermind and I was standing in this room and I asked that question. How do I go to the next level? I'm doing 300 and some odd transactions a year now, and I cannot find any time to myself. My phone literally leaves my hand. I can't walk. I literally I can hardly make it to the bathroom long enough to just to avoid what I got to do next. I was handling a lot of the technical work, and they just told me, get the hell out of your own way and put somebody else in there. And then shortly after that, I heard that statement from that friend of mine. Again, I'll repeat it. You have more business you know what to do with, don't be caught doing the paperwork. Often I hear people say that. Well, I used to hear people say that, and I would take that as I'm better than that $10 an hour job, right? And so why would I stoop myself to that level? And now I've realized that's not what it meant. What meant by that, whoever created that, means that I'm taking from somebody else's opportunity. When I shared that with a friend of mine to kind of give you a little bit more of insight on where that comes from. A buddy of mine's wife owned he and her share the ownership of a home cleaning business for new home builders and property managers. And he would catch his wife constantly going out and cleaning some of these houses. And he asked me, he goes, what would you do? How would you stop her from doing that? Because she's better at the sales piece than the relationship piece. She's good at the cleaning piece, but that's a waste of her time. So tell her she's a damn thief. He's like, what? He's like, tell her she's a damn thief. He's like, well, why would I say that? He says, because what she just did is stole somebody else's job. And I share with him that same saying. If you have more business you know what to do with, do not be caught doing the paperwork or the cleaning. So what you did is just took somebody else's job, their opportunity, and then because she's not out there expanding the relationships and the business, she took a second person's opportunity.
Mm.
So if she took that time that she spent on those handful of houses and was out there driving more business, not only would that first person have those houses to do, but she would need another person to take on the next houses. We need to find our absolute best work and focus our energy there. And when it gets to a point you cannot focus your energy there as much as you should, you need to figure out what you can offload. There's always things in our world we can offload. That's why I have an assistant. I referenced Samantha on here. She, my daughter worked for me as my assistant for over a year, about a year and a half. She was doing a great job. And it came to a point where she's like, Dad, your industry is not my industry. I want to go do what moms do, and I want to go work in the ER. So she was transitioning to work in the hospital. So we're deciding, who do we hire? And I remember my daughter was really big into the plays and stuff in high school. I was like, so you were the one acting. Who ran the stage? Were you friends with that? She goes, oh yeah, that was Samantha. I said, are you still talking with her? She goes, yeah, I just actually hung out with her a couple days ago. First time in months. I said, call her. So we replaced her with Samantha, who basically is helping me expand my capability now. If you get the right person in the role, because she maintains my calendar, she maintains my email, she ensures that I am on the phone. I'm talking who I need to be talking with every time I'm supposed to be talking to that person. I'll get text warning me I got to be on something. That is giving me the capability to be what I need to be while she's handling stuff I don't need to be doing. So that right there is case in point. What can I hand off that doesn't need my attention? The basic emails that are coming in, she sets the calls. She sets my calendar. She ensures I'm speaking at the place I'm supposed to. She ensures I'm here talking with you. She actually sent me a text. I was a little late here, and I didn't get it because I had my phone on silent. Plus, I was on the other line. So that would be one of the reasons I was a couple minutes late on this one. But if you properly structure it, get the right person in place, you can only grow. It's when we put somebody there for selfish purposes, I think, and start expanding a business in a way to give us more time to do stuff that we really shouldn't be doing, that you start putting yourself at risk.
I thought it was interesting how you found Samantha. Is that right? Your assistant. Yep. How you found her? You know, you asked your daughter who was running the stage.
Yeah, because she had to dictate for a bunch of people, and it just kind of hit me. It was one of those really weird aha moments, right? I was sitting there thinking about who would I get. I had some names pop into my head. It was crazy. It was the one thing just finally just hit me. Like, wow, that makes a lot of sense. So I don't need to have somebody that's older. I could definitely go from a starter position, you know. And one of the other cool hires that I did is I have a gal here named Carla. Many people will get an email from Carla. She was a bartender at one of the local bar, I guess just a local pub down the street. It was an Irish pub. And when I was there one time, she wasn't there working. But I noticed the door opened and everybody in the place raised their glass and yelled, Carla.
Wow.
And within about a week or so, we were talking, and she slid me a resume. She goes, I'm just sending this out to everybody. If you know of something, I'm looking to try and get out of this. And I was like, I got something. She goes, well, what? I was like, I don't know, but I'll hire you. I have no idea what the job is, but I will hire you because of that day. And because that was not the only occurrence that had happened. You can't teach that. You find a person with that kind of talent, you find a place for them. You can teach everything else. I can teach the technicals. I can't teach that type of an attitude. Ellen, my head of operations, you know, she's been with me 10 years. There's no way I could have gotten where I've gotten without Ellen here to help me run this ship. We refer to her as the wizard behind the curtain. I'm the smoke mirrors and BS. She gets things done. And she went from a processing role handling a pipeline to now doing all my pre-quals. So I put her in a place where she can use her knowledge best to ensure we have the highest quality transaction going through our system. And if you ever heard of the book, The Goal by Eli Goldratt, I would look it up. I used her, their method that they talked about there. I use that in my systems here, and I put her in place to mimic what they talked about in there for the quality control, to ensure that we have good quality going into the system before it even works its way in. Because if you have a bad quality item stepping into your funnel, all you do is bog down everything, maybe plugged up the funnel. So I could go on and on and on about each person here. And that poor bar, I've hired 3 people from them. I don't know that I'd be allowed back in there. But there's a lot of opportunity, a lot of great people out there. You yourself have to decide when is the right time. And sometimes you have to decide ahead of time, because you may be just at that verge of being able to do something. You can handle it all right now, but you want to be able to put that person in place and be prepared when you can't handle it all. Because the last thing you want to do is be so overwhelmed you can't take on one more thing, but then trying to train somebody to help you take on that one more thing. That might even be a bigger business killer than not hiring at all.
That's interesting. And that kind of leads into too, I was wanting to ask you, helping the listener that maybe has an assistant, but it's not working out. How did you transition, from, I know it was your daughter, but still transition from one assistant to the next, or maybe you could give some pointers on making that as smooth as possible.
Well, what I had my daughter do was write down everything she did. She had a list of all the tasks that she would complete, right? And it had to be done every day. Every day this needed to happen. And then what I had her do was we brought Samantha in for about, if I remember correctly, I think it was 2 weeks. I brought her in early and let her just follow Isabel through her whole day. And then we'd talk about at the end of the day what was done and what I would want tweaked and what I would want for the future. And it kind of enhanced it, right? Because then I got to see what Samantha's capabilities were versus Isabel's. They're two vastly different people, right? And it's not a knock on one or the other. It's you have two different people. You have a certain amount of tasks that have to get done. And maybe those tasks will change or enhance or adapt based upon the personality of the individual you're bringing in. So you definitely want to have them both together if possible. But if you have to just completely can one and bring the other one in, you better know what they're doing. If you don't know what they're doing, then you don't have no idea what to hand off. And we created that role around Isabel because I didn't know what I needed. I just know I needed it, because it was so crazy at the time. I couldn't keep up. So I needed to put somebody in place. And so I took her and brought her in here. Plus, I thought maybe at some point she'd take over my business someday. She's got great personal skills, but she just didn't like the pace. The pace is nuts. We are insane with what we do. It is 24/7, hard charging. You don't relax. And that just wasn't what she wanted. Who knows? Maybe my youngest will do that. She's like a chimp on coke. So we'll see how she does that.
So looking back over the last year, what was the greatest experience that you're going to take forward into the next year?
Well, looking back, it's really, for me, realizing that you have to give to receive. I know that we've heard it. It's come over and over and over again. We've had that come into our lives. But until you actually practically apply it and see the fruit of that, you don't really understand it. And the experience doesn't come from last year. It comes from a few years ago that I continue to keep applying, and it continues to keep just surprising me on how well it works. So you're familiar with the book, The Secret, right?
I'm not.
Oh, you're not? Okay. That was like a big deal back in the mid-2000s. Everybody talked about The Secret. And it talked a lot about the attitude of gratitude. That was the big thing that it talked about. And it just says it worked. So if you walk around with gratitude and you explain and you share that with people and you're grateful for everything, that you have more. But they never told me that how it worked. They just said it worked, right? And I remember I've read it a couple times. I've read other books that talked about it, but never have I understood why it works. Well, back in 2000, I think it was early 2016. I had one of my employees, one of the ones that left us back in 2016. She, early in the time she was with us, we had talked about when we reached a certain point, we'd reevaluate her role and what she's contributing, and then we adjust her income accordingly. Well, the time was coming. We were supposed to sit down and discuss this. And I had a number in mind that I thought would be fair. But I reached out to a client of mine who is an executive at Expedia and asked them what is a standard adjustment in one's pay for somebody who's done a good job. They said, well, 2% is standard, 3% if they've done a really good job. Well, I ran the numbers on that, and that wasn't sexy at all. In fact, it was almost insulting. So I told them, I'm thinking more like 10. They said, good luck. Nobody will ever give them a 10% raise. So I contacted my boss, asked him. It's like, what's standard within our organization? He said 2, maybe 3% if you can prove that they did something to really enhance the business. It's like, well, I'm thinking 10. He goes, it's never going to happen. It's like, don't tell me what's not going to happen. Tell me how I make that happen. Because you're going to have to write something up to convince us. So I got to take that up north, and we got to get people to agree with that. It's like, whoa, well, we're all here talking. I'm also thinking about a 30% bump in our bonus for certain metrics. And he was like, wow. He goes, just write it up. We'll see what we get. It took me 2 weeks of digging through emails, digging through things that she had done, production reports on where we had started with her, and different things I saw her do through the emails that she had provided, and things that she was enhancing to where we saw the production gain. And after writing that all up, presenting it, a few days later, I get a response back agreeing to it, allowing me to do this. So I was ecstatic. It was like saving for not eating lunch for a full year so you can buy your kid that bike that he's been wanting for Christmas, and you can't wait to see him open the present, right? You kind of get goosebumps thinking about that opportunity. This was me. I couldn't wait to sit her down. So when she came in, we sat down, we went over everything she had done for us, how she had helped build the business, what I went through to express that to corporate, because I was grateful to her for what she did. And then I shared with her the enhancement to her income with anticipation, right? I'm actually kind of feeling it right now. And then after she looked at it, she looks down, she looks up at me with kind of a little bit of a twisted look on her face. She goes, that's it? So I really thought you could have done better than this.
Wow.
What is your gut saying right now? What if you had no filter and no business mind, what would you say to this person right now? Truly, I'm asking you.
There's the door.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. I mean, literally, I'm like, you ungrateful little, go ahead and fill it in, right?
Yeah.
I was like, okay, no longer, not only do not get this, I'm taking this back, right? I was going to take down a little piece of paper that I gave her. I'm taking that back, but I'm taking everything back I gave you. I'm taking the job, taking everything. Just get out. In fact, leave the keys to your car because you do not deserve that either, right? I was that angry. But I had to calm myself down. I had to pause. I turned it into a teaching moment. I was like, okay, so tell me what you expected. Tell me how, and we talked through it, right? It didn't change anything, right? I left it as was, but it really bugged me. I could tell, and it bugged her. There's something going on there that bugged her. I mean, she was young, millennial, and I'm like, she did a phenomenal job, and she was properly rewarded for it, but I'm really kind of lost. Well, that same week, I'm coming to work, exiting the freeway. I drive a big lifted Chevy truck, and as I'm exiting that freeway, of course, you wouldn't expect that of me to drive a lifted Chevy diesel, right? As I'm exiting the freeway, there's this guy standing on the off-ramp with his cardboard sign. We're both familiar with the scene, but there's something about this guy. And as I watched him, I rolled down my window. I reached to a spot where I have money hidden in my truck. I think we may have even discussed on the last podcast how there's a point in my life I was so broke I had to walk around a parking lot for 2 hours to find enough change to get a couple of gallons of gas to go home. And that was the day I was introduced to this industry. So since then, I hide money in my truck because I never want to be in that position again. I reached where it was hidden. I rolled down the window and I held it out. The man approaches me, accepts the bill, thanks me, and as he walks away, he's unfolding it. He stops and looks back at me and he holds it up. He goes, "Are you serious, man?" I'm like, "Yeah, why?" He goes, "This is $20, man." I put my hand out, said, "It's yours." Just then he reached up and he took my hand. He takes it to his chest. He bows his head and audibly says a prayer of thanks to God and asks for a blessing on me. And then with tears streaming down his cheeks, he looks up at me and he's thanking me profusely for this. And at that point, I had this overwhelming sense of guilt overcome me that I only had $20 on me. Well, I would have wanted to ask him if he had a square because I would have swiped my card. I would have given him anything I could at that moment. But if you know Arizona drivers, the light was green at this point and they're honking the horn behind me. So we had to exchange God bless yous, and I'm driving and I left that scene as I'm driving to my office. It hit me. That's the practical application of gratitude. On one side, I gave somebody more than what anybody ever expected in that role as far as people in my industry. Not quite what she expected, what everybody else expected. And I felt like she spat in my face, and I wanted to take it all back. Not just that one little thing, everything. She didn't deserve any of it. And on the other hand, I gave him $20, just $20. And I wanted to give him everything I can. Our interaction with each other and this utilization of this principle changes how we receive. It changes how we give on both sides. So I realized that there's something of now. I realized what the real method was behind it. And I'd attended an event where a man was speaking, the keynote speaker was talking, and he talked about never getting out of bed until you have 3 new things to be grateful for. Now, I tried that. You go a few months, you're like, okay, I'm starting to backtrack over things, right? Not that we shouldn't be grateful for it 2 or 3 times, but you start to backtrack on stuff. And then it kind of hit me one morning as I thought about that. I was taught by that man on the side of the freeway. And what he showed me was how I conduct my business. I get more than 3 new things every day. I get to be here with you. As I'm sitting here, I'm seeing emails come in with referrals like crazy. I'm seeing deals that are getting closed right now on my email and people thanking us for that. I have my new thing to be grateful for every single day. So at the end of every day, Samantha gives me a list of the names of people that are introduced me today and who introduced them. And I do as I was taught. I take those before deity, that list in my hand or on my phone, some way I have those names with me. And I say a prayer of gratitude for each one of those people and ask for a blessing to be put upon them, their families, and their business and their future for blessing my life the way that they had. So incorporating that into my world, into my business, completely changed how I go about things. And I'm here to share that with the world. And I was grateful that you allowed me to come back on and share that. I've had people nominate me to get on a TED Talk for that. And I can even shoot you the breakdown on how they did that, because I would love to be able to stand on a stage like that, not from me, but to have a medium to be able to get out there why it works. Sure, we know it works. We know the principle is a divine principle, and we should be exercising it. We don't all of us understand why and what is a real practical application. And whether a person's believes in God or not, on that's listening to this, look at every single one of the commandments. Anything that comes down through the teachings of if you listen to Christ, you follow Buddha, whoever it is you follow, most of everything you see. I'm a Christian, and I look at those principles has to do with trust. Every single one of them. You're violating trust on one hand or the other. And when you violate that trust, who does it hurt? It really hurts you, because you just killed that connection. You know, I saw a sign at one of the events I was just at in Dallas where it said, your network is your net worth. Anytime you violate your network, you have now impacted your net worth. That's one more source of strength. That's one more resource of business. That's one more resource of interpersonal relationship you just lost because of your violation of that. It's not going to hurt them. They're like, good, I'm glad that some bitch is out of my life. They don't have to put up with you because they don't trust you. That is the one thing that we have to guard the most, because it's so easily lost from the smallest act.
No, I appreciate you sharing that. That's incredible. Yeah, you have to give to receive, and how that's affected you. I appreciate the story about the man that took the $20 also. And we've experienced many things like that going to third world countries, and you hand out erasers, for an example, to children in a third world country. They're just so grateful, so, appreciative. And you hand out something like that here or there, they throw them down and stomp on them because they're not the right color, or, something like that.
Or it wasn't attached to the keys to a Ferrari or something.
Right.
And I definitely understand. And don't take me wrong in my gratitude, because my gratitude also goes towards that former employee of mine. If she didn't react that way, I wouldn't have seen it. That's the other thing. Be grateful for the real tough things in life. Be grateful for the slaps you get across the face, because sometimes that's what you need to recognize. If you don't have that to wake you up, who knows what path you're going to be walking down. 2008, and I was in a motorcycle accident that put me in a wheelchair for a period of time. And if that did not happen, I shudder to think the path I'd be on right now had I not had that divine gift of an accelerated education. Every time you get whacked, every time you take a wound, there's something to be educated as a result of that. And do not take that lightly. Do not ignore it. Absorb it. Understand it. Dig into it. Look at it from different angles, and you'll find that there's a benefit to it.
Wow. Thank you so much, Aaron. And we're almost out of time, but I appreciate you mentioning the book, The Secret, but also you and I had talked about a couple of books before we got started. And I just thought the listeners would probably value a lot by you talking about these couple books that you talked about reading almost every day, and how they've benefited you and your business.
Every day I have to start with action, right? So when I wake up at 4:30 in the morning, go straight to prayer. Then I go to scripture, and then I go to these 2 books. The first one I read after scripture is Og Mandino's Greatest Salesman in the World. There is steps. You have to read it. It's broken down what they call scrolls. It's from back in the ancient time. And as you can see right here, the way I've marked it up, I don't know if it's visible, but that's all of them are marked up that way. It takes 10 months to get through this. You have to read that scroll every day, so often, all day long. And there's some amazing data in here that's been around for a long time. The next one I read is The Master Key System by Charles Hammel. As you can see, my flag's on it. There's just a lot of amazing stuff here. I'll just flip to something. You can see how that one's all marked up. Right, more amazing data. This was published, I believe, in 1910, 1911, something like that. It was a correspondence course that takes you 24 weeks to get through. I encourage if anybody picks these up, they're really, really cheap. Some of the greatest wealth here for $3.99, I think is what I paid for this on Amazon. Follow the process. Don't just read it. I've talked to people that says, yeah, I've read that. So how'd you read it? Well, I got it and I read it. Like, did you follow the process? Like, what process? Follow the process, because every day you read it, more stuff will come about. I'm on my second time through, and I'm highlighting more, which I never thought I would be doing. And if you feel on a day that you're not quite getting it, get the Audible version. Kick on the Audible version as you're reading it. You're getting two senses helping you drag out that information. It's life-changing. I'm not going to tell you what it is. You figure it out for yourself, but it will change your life. It'll change how you think. Your trajectory will be completely different when you're done with these, and then keep doing it. Stay on that course. Act every single day.
Nice. Thanks a lot, Aaron, for sharing that. And, during the last show, we talked about many questions about the one thing that contributed to your success and the hardest thing in your business and some stuff like that. But I thought I would ask you, what's a need in your business right now that you'd like to put out to the listeners?
More people to impact. My daily goal is not to close more deals, not to get more business, not to make more money. It is to have every single person that I interact with leave that interaction with more hope for tomorrow. Feel like they have a better grasp on their ability to succeed. And if I did not do that, then I failed. But that means there's more people I need to touch, more people I want to interact with. I truly agree my network is my net worth. So I would love to continue to expand it. I love for people to run to aaronbchapman.com and run me down. I have another site, aaronchapman.com. I finally got my hands on it. It's just taken me years. I just haven't been able to get that one up and plugged in yet. But I want to be able to just communicate, just get to know how is it you're looking to try and expand yourself. And if you're going into the real estate investment world, I want to be able to help you. I'll be able to take the thousands of transactions of experience to benefit you. That's what I'm looking to do, is just continue to enhance my interactions in this world, because that's where I feel true value.
Wow. Thanks so much, Aaron. You provided a tremendous amount of value to the listeners. And is there any other way you'd like them to be able to get in touch with you other than the Aaron B. Chapman or Aaron Chapman websites?
Yeah, that's the best right now, aaronbchapman.com, because if I ever have to change email, that will always be working.
Okay. Right? Okay. Well, thank you again. And I hope the listeners will obviously reach out to Aaron. It's just an incredible amount of wealth, and he's very generous, obviously, with it. And we appreciate that. And I hope you'll go to LifeBridge Capital and connect with me and schedule a call, and also go to the Facebook group so we can all learn from experts like Aaron and grow our business together. Thanks again, and have a great afternoon, and we'll talk to each of you tomorrow.
Thank you for listening to the Real Estate Syndication Show, brought to you by LifeBridge Capital. LifeBridge Capital works with investors nationwide to invest in real estate, while also donating 50% of its profits to assist parents who are committing to adoption. LifeBridge Capital, making a difference, one investor and one child at a time. Connect online at www.lifebridgecapital.com for free material and videos to further your success.